The Beer O'Clock Show with Steve and Mark. Episode 5, Black Sheep Ale. Hi guys, Mark here. Just before the episode starts, I just want to apologise for the sound quality in this week's episode. It was due to some mic mishaps, I'm afraid, but I hope it doesn't put you off too much, and we do appreciate your support. Thanks. Hello, it's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show. My name is Mark, and joining me from the birthplace of Ollie Murs in Essex is Steve. Hello, Steve.
Good evening, Mark.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
Are you proud of your county's legacy?
Absolutely. Yes, we've got not only Ollie Murs, but also Matt Cardle as well.
Really?
Yes, yeah. Where I live is kind of halfway between the two of them, so it's like a rose between two thorns.
Oh, that's great. This is the Beer O'Clock Show, of course. Every week we take a beer and we pick it apart, while also trying to teach me, an ex-lager drinker, how to drink proper ales, and Steve is my mentor. This week we have is it called a dark ale, Steve? It's Black Sheep.
Yeah.
By the...
I think it's just an ale. It's quite simply just an ale. It's probably one of the more recognisable and classic beers that you can get your hands on.
Well, obviously the name threw me, so I was expecting a black ale. It's from the Black Sheep Brewing Company, of course, based in North Yorkshire.
Yep.
I've just poured it out, and it is quite a nice dark colour, though.
Yes. So it's probably more reminiscent of the Southwold bitter that we did in the first week.
Yeah. Before we get to the tasting proper, let's talk about what we've had in the last week or so. I had a Goliath from the Black Sheep Brewery on the weekend. That wasn't too bad. Have you had that one before?
I don't think I have. If I'm completely honest, I've had a few of the Whitewood beers, but that's one of the ones that I've never picked up. It only seems to appear in my local supermarket every now and again.
Okay.
And then only in fairly small batches. So I should certainly keep my eye out for it, and next time it's there, I'll have a go at that one.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I don't think it was a patch on Hobgoblin by the same people.
I love Hobgoblin. It's one of my favourite beers.
Yeah, it's a nice one. Thinking back, it had a little bit of a fizz while I was drinking it. The carbonation, I suppose.
Yeah.
Taste-wise, I can't really say much. It tasted like beer. It was a bit, I want to say it's earthy or rooty, but I'm supposing that's just the malt flavours coming in, but it wasn't terribly malty.
If you're saying you're getting an earthy taste from it, that's probably more of the hops that you're picking up than it is the malt. Because some of the traditional English hops have got more of an earthy flavour to them.
Right.
So, but it's you're beginning to distinguish between the tastes.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a ruby beer, apparently, if I remember right. So because I'm quite a visual thinker, so I'm drinking it thinking, does this taste like ruby? Is ruby the colour?
Is it also? I'm sure I remember maybe an earlier incarnation of it. Is it in a bigger bottle than normal? Hence the name Goliath.
No, it seemed to be in the same size bottle.
Right.
I mean, I bought it in a Morrison, so
yeah,
it's probably the standard mass-produced bottling. I've seen some pictures of it in a different looking bottle.
Yeah, I think it used to be available in a bigger bottle.
Okay.
And like I say, hence the name.
I mean, like a Newcastle Brown size bottle. Why is that in such a big bottle?
Because it's a full pint.
Okay.
That you get in a Nuki Brown bottle.
Right. Yeah, so Goliath was a 4.2% alcohol. It was nice enough. I don't think I would drink plenty of it. I remember back to the Hobgoblin. That was a heavier beer. Obviously, that was when I first started trying to drink ales properly. And that was quite heavy for me. But I would have had that again. I don't think I would try the Goliath again anytime soon. Not when I know there's other options.
Yeah.
That's the only adventuring I've done in the world of beers. How have you fared in the last week?
Quite well, actually. If we go back to last weekend, I tried a couple of Thornbridge beers that I managed to pick up from the supermarket. There's one called Wild Swan, which was classed as a white golden beer, which poured very. It looked very much like a lager, but it had a really beautiful taste to it, and what I would call it had a craft beer taste. So you could really taste the hops in it. You could taste the flavours that they had put in it, and then I followed that up with a Thornbridge Jaipur IPA, which was absolutely awesome. It was an amazing beer, and that's probably one of my recommendations of the week. If you can get your hands on a Thornbridge Jaipur IPA, do so, because it's an absolutely gorgeous beer, and I thoroughly took my time drinking the pint because it was so tasty. Really hoppy, really bold flavours. Again, a really nice craft taste to it. A darkish beer, but not too dark. Just a really nice pint, a really nice, easy drinking, enjoyable pint. So
okay, you used the term it tasted craft beer.
Yeah.
Explain that to me. What do you mean by that?
We've spoken a few times about the craft beer revolution that's going on at the moment in the UK. There's much more of a move at the moment to producing beers that have got lots of flavours, have really bold flavours in them, and there are a lot of what are now called craft beer houses that have opened up, and there's a certain taste to the beers from those sorts of pubs, and it's the hoppy taste, and literally on both pints I picked them up, and as soon as I picked up the aroma, I just felt like I was in one of the craft beer houses, because I was just getting the smell and the flavours were coming through. So it just shows that there's been some time and some care and some passion gone into making the beer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, those were probably the two that I drank last weekend, and then I think last weekend was also really hot, and I think I might have fallen off of the beer wagon and had a few lagers as well, because I just needed something to properly refresh me. Shock horror. Stop the press. Steve drank a lager or two,
membership card,
or three, and then
what lagers did you have?
I had a Becksveer, which is probably my standard lager.
That's
if I
what
go,
I drink when I go out, mate.
well, it's, you know what? Sometimes you just need something like that, and then. There were some buds in the fridge, and I had a couple of those. They're my wife's buds, but I was just like, I need a cold lager. I'm going to have one of those. So I had a couple of those, and then we went out actually on Monday night, and I had a Samuel Adams Boston Lager.
Oh right, have you had that before?
No, it's the first time I've had it.
What's it like?
It's like a beer. It's not like a lager at all. It's got more of a beery taste to it. I wouldn't say I overly enjoyed it. I wouldn't rush to buy it again. But it's definitely not a lager.
Right.
Or it definitely didn't have a lagery taste to it.
Okay.
And then I was away, and I was in a pub, and they had on tap they had Kellam Island Brewery Pale Rider, which I've had in bottles before and I absolutely love in the bottle. And in fact, a friend of mine and I proclaimed it as being beer of the year 2011. It was our favourite beer from last year. Little did I know it was actually the champion beer of Britain in 2004 as well. So it's obviously quite a popular brew. But I had it on tap for the first time. Gorgeous. It was as smooth as you like. Really citrusy, refreshing flavours to it as well. I think I might have had about 3 of those before we left the pub. But really nice beer. So 2 recommendations this week, folks. Thornbridge Jaipur IPA and Kellam Island Power Rider. If you can get your hands on those, do so and let us know what you think of them.
Nice. Right, we'll chuck those up on the Twitter feed as well so people can reference that. Anything else you want to feed back on this from this week?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay, well let's get straight into this week's featured ale, which is the Black Sheep Ale from the Black Sheep Brewery. I poured my glass. It's a nice coppery bronzy colour.
Mm.
Oh, it's bitter, isn't it?
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's... You're not liking that, are you?
No, I'm not saying I dislike it, but after the last couple of weeks, this is like kicking the tongue again.
Yeah.
So is that the strong hops I can taste?
I think it's probably more the malts you can taste. There's not a lot of hops coming through. Certainly not on the nose. And anyway,
Right.
if you look at the brewery does say that it produces a range of well hopped bitters, but I'm not sure that it's coming through overly in that beer.
Yeah, malted barley is the second most. I'm drunk already. I've had one swallow. The second ingredient in the list, so that's the second most populous ingredient, I suppose.
Yeah.
How it goes. So that kind of dense taste. The malted barley, so that's the malt.
I think that's the malts more than the hops. So certainly in my mind. Again, we welcome the feedback if people think differently. But if I was to compare that to the 2 beers that I mentioned earlier, the 2 Thornbridge beers, that you could just pick the hops up straight away in them.
Yeah.
Because they've got a really distinctive smell and a taste. This is just like this is almost like a standard beer.
I've been a bit spoilt in the last couple of weeks because we've had quite drinkable beers, especially last week's Waggle Dance.
Yeah, the Waggle Dance was lovely.
It's a bit of a shock, Steve.
Yeah, yes, sorry. I think we should probably only admit we were thrown into a bit of a position because we didn't really know what we could go for this week. Yeah. It was a last minute call where I think I was in Morrison's and I quickly texted you and I was like, "This is what I've got in front of me. Do you know you can get hold of any of these?"
Yeah, great. I can get those in the local across the road.
Perfect. Yeah.
Let me just say, I like it, but it's a bit much taste-wise, I think.
It is very bitter. It's got a very bitter aftertaste to it. But yeah, I think the reason probably why I went for this one this week was because it's a well-known beer. It's a well-known brand, and I thought it would be good to do it in terms of the range that this brewery offers. They only offer about 2 or 3 beers. That they only produce 2 or 3 beers. They produce this one. They produce one called Rig Welter, which is a slightly stronger version of the same beer. And then they've also picked onto the trend of doing a golden ale. So they do one called Golden Sheep as well. Okay. Out of the 3, I actually think I prefer the Rig Welter because it's a much stronger beer. It'd put you on your backside. It's 5.9% the Rig Welter, so
Ooh, I like my beers with fours in the number or threes.
yeah, yeah. You're not ready for the fives and the sixes yet. Yeah. But I was also, I suppose I was keen to do this one as well because there's a bit of a backstory to the brewery as well, which some of our listeners might know, but for those that don't, it was actually established by a guy called Paul Theakston in 1991. Now, you might recognise the name because Theakston's is another brand of beers that you can get. It's another brewery, and essentially what happened was. Paul Theakston, it was the Theakston brewery was family owned. They had a bit of a falling out. Paul left, set up his own brewery called the Black Sheep Brewery, and the common sort of tale is that it's called the Black Sheep Brewery because he was considered the black sheep of the family.
Right, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Clever.
So that's the amazing backstory that I'm sure people will be thrilled to hear.
Oh dear. I gave it a bit of a swirl because I saw that someone do that in a YouTube video. Try and release the smells a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know what it smells like, but it's not unpleasant.
It's not really got an aroma. It is your bulk standard beer. It's nothing.
So-
It's nothing fancy.
I shouldn't be upset that I can't taste the things that
No.
people say they can taste in beers. I should be
I-
smelling beer.
Yeah. When you look at what we've done the last few weeks, like I say, I think we've been a little bit spoiled. We've gone for a few golden ales, particularly the Waggle Dance last week. There were those
Gorgeous
sweet,
that beer.
sweet flavours coming through.
Taste that beer for 2 days afterwards.
But this one there's nothing special about it. Nothing special at all.
Well, I'm glad that we've done it because I've seen this on the shelves for ages, and looking at the bottle, it looks really interesting. I mean, the label, and it looks like it's like a dark beer with character, but it's like a Southwold bitter without the Southwold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at me, I'm a snob already. I'm on my 5th beer of them. That's the show.
But that's good. You're passing comment.
I know,
It
I
may-
was talking to one of our friends, Andy, because he's in Las Vegas at the moment, and he's in a bar, and I said, "So, do they have proper beers, or is it just all horse piss?" I'm thinking, come on, Mark, horse piss was your drink.
Well, yeah,
You can't be a snob already.
very, very quickly. And as I've proved this week, how quickly you can fall back into your old traits.
Yeah. Okay, it's going a bit easier now that this is harking back to week 1 when we had the Southwold bitter there.
Yeah.
The rock is gone now. Yeah, it's not doing much for me, Steve, I'm afraid.
Yeah. No, it's not me either. Although it must have been evaporating while I've been talking. 'Cause I've got hardly any left.
I mean, it's definitely drinkable, but it's not a session beer.
You wouldn't go back for more.
No.
No, you've it's there's something in my mind about our whole journey here is about you also being able to tick off beers and say, well, I've done that one. I know I don't like it. So if it's that situation where I know I've found myself in a couple of times where you've walked into a pub, there's 2 or 3 beers, and you're like, which one to have or which one not to have. And if the more you've tried, the more you can then say, oh, well, I won't go for that because I know I don't like it.
In that category.
Yes, one that you wouldn't revisit.
Yeah. So, you're saying they do a golden ale.
Yes,
Have you had that one before?
once.
How did that fare up? Much the same?
Much the same, but lighter in colour. I think, like I said, I think they jumped on the trend of producing golden ales about a year ago, and it was a while before I actually found it on the shelves in the local supermarket, and it was nothing special in my mind. I wouldn't put them down there as far as Green King and the beers of many IPAs that they produce, but it's certainly if you were to look at the 5 beers that we've done,
Yep.
now, it's probably in the bottom half of those 5.
Yeah,
In-
sitting down the bottom with the Green King.
Yes, but not below it because
Because it's not Green King.
it's not Green King.
The Tesco's of beers.
Yeah.
So, at the beginning, I was talking about a dark ale, thinking this was going to be one. Is there such a thing as a dark ale? Or is that getting the stout territory?
Before you get to stout, you get what's called a porter, which is essentially a dark ale. And they're very strong in taste, so in your malts and that sort of thing. You get your ruby beers as well. So I think the Hobgoblin is actually classed as a ruby ale more than it is a dark ale. When I was at the beer festival, I did a black IPA, and it's essentially just the malts that they're using to produce the beer that give it the colour, the darker colour and the taste.
Okay.
So the darker beers would use more roasted malts, whereas your middle of the road and your golden ales would use more of your normal malts.
Right. Okay, because when I was about to pour it, I was expecting it to come out quite thick.
Yeah.
This is my imagination going.
Yeah.
Because how does Guinness pour? Is that quite a thick liquid, or is it the consistency? I've never, ever drunk a Guinness. To my shame.
It is. I don't think it's to your shame. I think it's it's an acquired
I'm married to
taste.
someone who's half Irish, so it's kind of a shame.
I've never been a huge Guinness fan. Occasionally, every now and again, I'll drink it, but I will only drink, and I will only drink the extra cold option of it, because I think that it's going back to the whole cold debate again. That the fact that it's extra cold takes off the harshness of the taste in there. Whereas if you used to drink the normal one, or certainly if you used to drink it out of a bottle, the stuff that comes out of a bottle is it's almost undrinkable in my mind. But I'm happy to explore Guinness one week as an option. It sits within our range of beers.
I think we did mention, like in episode 1, you did mention it's better off the tap.
It is, yeah.
So we also, one of our listeners said we need to do a live show in a pub one day.
Yes.
We've got to get together, queued up for October, so I think we should record Mark's first sip of Guinness live at the bar.
And we could record the evening as it gradually degrades, and we can just about speak.
Yeah, right to the point where you're calling me a taxi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back. That'll be after the 3rd beer, probably, won't it?
Probably. Get a wheelchair and just carry me around.
Yeah. I think the trick is that I've learned, certainly when I've gone out drinking in London and going around the craft beer places, is that you order half pints rather than a pint. That way you can try more.
Yeah.
Without completely getting shit faced within the first hour.
Yeah, and just mentally knowing how much more of this I've got to drink kind of makes me really hate it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the other week when I went up the pub up the road and got a half of Doom Bar, it was only a little glass. I approached it with quite an open, friendly mind rather than a pint of will I manage this. Yeah.
And well, that's the other thing, isn't it? If you've ordered something that you don't like, you only got to drink half of it.
Yeah.
Rather than a full pint, and it's easier to drink half pint than it is a whole pint.
Yeah. So
welcome to state the obvious.
Well, let's look ahead a little bit, because obviously we've said all we need to say about this Black Sheep Ale.
Yes.
What are some beers that you would really like to try on the show in like the next few months?
Okay, well, the one thing we've not spoken about this week was I won a crate of beer from the Great British Beer Festival. There was a competition where you had to post yourself in front of the Brains bar, having a beer, and so I posted a picture of me doing something in front of the Brains bar. That they put all the pictures up onto their Facebook page. There were half a dozen people that had actually bothered to post their pictures. So I thought, brilliant, I'm in with a pretty good shout, 1 in 6 chance. I think they were probably a little bit disappointed and underwhelmed by the amount of people that actually bothered to put their pictures up. So they gave everybody a crate of beer, which so I say I've won it, but kind of got it as a bit of a consolation prize. But hey ho. But it's a crate of the Barry Island IPA that I've spoke about before. So that is apparently on its way to me. As soon as I get that, I will find a way of getting a bottle over to you, and we'll do that 1 week on the show. I think that'd be quite a nice beer to do. Although that might be pushing you a little bit, because I think that's up there in the late fives. I think it might be 5.7, 5.8%. So we might need to think about how we ration you on that one.
We'll have to do it on a Friday night.
Yes, yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So that's one. I'd certainly like to explore some of the Thornbridge beers if we can get a hold of those and do those on the show. I still think you need an introduction to Innis and Gunn as well, and then we need to do a couple of the Innis and Gunn beers because they are amazing. When you get
Innis and Gunn about 3 years ago, I had some Innis and Gunn.
Okay, I would suggest that we maybe do the rum finish because that is a lovely beer.
Is that the one that Alistair said if I drank that I'd be on my arse? Or no?
Maybe. But it's really nice.
I'm open to that.
It's a dark beer as well, so it does pour almost black.
Nice.
But it's lovely. It's an absolutely lovely beer. And then I think we've spoken about the idea of maybe going a bit more exotic and having a look at some websites and seeing what we can find on some websites and maybe slowly beginning to branch out what we're trying, so that we're not just going for your bulk standard supermarket brands, but we're actually spreading our wings a little bit.
Indeedy, yeah. So we'll be hitting up the Beers of Europe, the My Brewery Tap, or whatever type websites are out there.
Yes.
Getting some interesting bottles in that you may not be able to buy in Morrison's.
Yeah, but I suppose the purpose of us doing this is that, you know, if we can inspire people enough to actually go out and try these beers and pick them up from elsewhere, then I think we're in with a good shout.
Absolutely, especially if we can find like the little craft breweries from around the country.
Yes.
That you definitely can't get in, Morrison's en masse. You might be able to get in a Tesco's that supports its local brewing scene, like you've said they do before.
Yeah.
But, like that Otter Brewery, or the Otter Ale that you had at the festival this year.
Yes, yeah. I'm still trying to find that. Apparently the Wyvale Garden Centres sell it. So
yeah, one of these websites does as well, I saw it.
Yeah.
So, we should grab one of those 1 week, because I wouldn't mind trying that.
There's a couple of small breweries in London as well that I think we should be trying. One of them's called the Colonel Brewery. Mm-hmm. And that does an absolutely amazing IPA that they do. But again, I just worry about you if we start drinking these beers, because that's a small bottle. It's sort of like the size of a bottle of Bud, but it's about 6.9%. It's a massive beer, but it's so flavoursome. And then there's Sandbrook's Brewery as well, which I think is down Wandsworth, Battersea Way.
To me, yeah.
Yeah, I got a bottle of their beer recently from Morrison's, which I'm actually going to try tomorrow night. So watch this space the next time, folks, and I'll give you my view on Sandbrook's, because I've not had their stuff before. But there's loads of little breweries all over London that are getting bigger and bigger now. So I think we need to start certainly trying to branch out a little bit more.
Absolutely. And if we can both get weekend passes, we can always meet up.
Yeah.
Weekend. But it is a case of getting a weekend pass out.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe get one every couple of months.
Yeah. Ah, married life.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Okay, well, I think that's all we have to talk about this week. Especially that's all we have to talk about, the Black Sheep Ale. Oh, bless. If you want to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us via email at beeroclockshow@gmail.com, on the website at beeroclockshow.co.uk, or on Twitter, which is probably the best place to get in touch with both of us, at beeroclockshow. Steve is on at Mental Bentos, and I'm at Roku, ROKKU. Feel free to send us any feedback you've got on the show. We are really keen on getting your feedback. What beers do you think we should be trying? What do you think of our reviews? Or rather, it's less of a review, isn't it? It's more of a, Mark, this is what you should be tasting, but I don't taste it. I
Yeah.
think I've got the idea now that taste that is kicking me in the nuts when I first taste it, apart from the bitterness, is going to be the malts. I think I recognised the hops last week in that waggle dance, so I'm getting there.
Yeah, that's why I'm keen to try a few of the really hoppy beers, because I want you to get smacked around the chops by some hops.
Cool. So join us not next week, because we're not here next week. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be posting on Twitter what the beer is, so you get a chance to get one in. Hopefully it's something interesting, but you'll find out soon enough. My name is Mark. That's Steve. Thanks very much for listening. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.